Yes, let's talk about that, Roxanne. Let's talk about experience. Okay, the quality of it. Through imagination, through interpretation and theory, Roxy was sharing an experience to come, a mammogram. She had it today at 10:15 a.m. Squashed her little boobs, right? Got the pictures taken. Wasn't anything that she fathomed. Now let's look at that. See, a quality of theory is laid in history. The further you fall in love with yourself, the history and you become more distant, where the translated theory of possibilities is nowhere near the actuality. This is going to be noticeable by much of you. So you can kind of feel how something is going to be because you're validating that as consistent, right? You're carrying that big anchor along with you down the timeline and always feeling a way to relate to reality, okay? So let's say you have an event coming up like Roxy's mammogram. You heard about the boob squashing and, tell them to stop at this certain point, and this and that, and all this stuff about getting this mammogram, right? So in her mind, she has the pain. When is she going to tell him to stop? How does it really work? And the experience was nothing like that she had in theory, because her theory is so distant, it's almost dead. This is another thing you're going to notice about living in the now, that the time spent foreshadowing yourselves with theoretical outcomes of how you're going to feel about it, how it's going to play out. Not even in detail. You're really not interested in detail at all because you know that ain't happening. It's too much truce in the moment that are the dynamic of life, right? So you can't really guess on how it's going to play out, but you can kind of surmise how it's going to feel. But as you fall more and more in love with yourself, shedding those consistency paths that you always validate, you're going to notice that your theory is not worth 2 cents to you anymore. It's really starting to grow more and more distance, and the now becomes more exciting. And what you're going to feel about the now is not so measured. You're not going to have good times, you're not going to have bad times. You're going to start having times, if you will, the ones that you validated by accenting time in a particular now to denote an occasion. Either way, it doesn't really matter, but you understand. So let's look at the quality of something now. The quality of the experience with the argument that Shagufta had with mom, yelled at mom on the phone, lost her shit. Well, that's quality. That's not a judgment. That's an experience brought out so she can dynamically feel her truth running through her coursing veins at a vibrational, noticeable level because she's not regretting or holding herself back or wondering if she should do this or not. She is the now experience, right? And she becomes alive in that moment. Of course, hindsight 2020, all the thoughts comes in and she's kicking her ass. Great. But see, she knows she's kicking her ass, and that's even greater. But I like to offer something to Shagufta. Just lend an ear for me for but a moment. Your mother is going to change. She has to. You keep standing your ground, speaking your truth, not in defense and justification, not only is always trying to explain yourself as you did with the content. You can let go of that. See, what you can start to understand about yourself is that her reflection needs some energy. And where has she invested? Well, she's losing her husband with the divorce. She's going to cast her fishing lines into that lake once again, trying to hang on. And she's going to do the same with you. See, just like your castle is crumbling, so is hers. Is this a bad thing? Are you seeing her in peril because she's setting everything that keeps her in prison? When you know yourself, how exquisite it is to release a belief system that keeps you dark, how much better you feel without quantifying reasons that you feel good. See, this is what you change and potential for other people to change themselves. You change you, you offer change potential. And that they choose. Now, she's going to, if she wants to interact with you, she's going to. She's going to find new ways. But you don't know that because you only know mom this way, buying you a whole bunch of series and then yelling at you, trying to be friendly and then doing it again. And then offering an exchange of forgiveness and materialism. Most humans do that. It's not special. It's not sorrowful. It's not pitiful. It just is. See, masters, all of you, I'm addressing now, you must see from an observation the awareness of limitations. See, these people are not those limitation images running around with their heads cut off going, peacock. You are seeing what the image is that is given life to by an individual singularity. And I want you to remember something. You are too. Except the difference is, well, you know the difference. You're awake. You're journeying. You're bringing up those feelings of failures. You're letting your mind kick the shit out of you, becoming immensely upset and depressed and regretful. She has the right to bitch and scream at you, but she has no rights over you. Never. Only that you accept as her commandment is your doing, always. You may fear the outcomes of time and what you call consequence. That scares humanity. Consequence. Consequence. It's a big long word, isn't it? Consequence. Consequence. It's filled with lack. It's filled with treachery. It fills with disposition of scary, uncertain, right? And you avoid these consequences by shutting yourself down and become a picturesque of the rightful daughter that she raised, and you have to be boxed. Now remember, Shagufta, you didn't know you were boxed. The gift you gave to yourself is to realize the box. But this box was not anyone's doing. It was an acceptance because of the default. Okay? So you're going to see new versions if you stay Eddie. Stay steady Eddie. Don't go changing you for someone else. You be the constant of change, and you're going to not believe the versions of your parents you can get. You have witnesses. Roxy, huge witness to that. The change in her parents, right? The idea of, let's say, Jennifer, the change with relationships, unbelievable. Because you don't know or trust vibration as a knowing, as an undoubtable. If you knew that undoubtedly, that vibration creates reality, you wouldn't shift yours into a lack percentage, as you've always done, to get your relationships of fulfillment any longer, because you would vibrate your isness filled every moment, and there's no possibility for you to diminish your light with the vibration of lack. Therefore, you do not be lack any longer. But you are still lackful because it's what you know, and that's the journey. That's the son of a bitch. That's ripping yourself apart. The kingdoms that you're shattering are not only yours, but of course they're humanity's. They're anyone who around you who wants to jump on board to experience what you're experiencing. A lot of them don't like to come along because after a while it's just too much. Like this, there's a boundary. There's a boundary between, let's say, Roxy's parents and her. They still have great interactions. They talk about the works and they share, but they won't go too deep into conversation with Roxy because they've set the boundaries. They understand that Roxy will be truthful if they tend to that garden. If they open up that door, Roxy's going to be not pleasant, is what they understand, because they're going to be confronted with belief systems. So they've found a manageable place for them to interact with Roxy. And Roxy's not a preacher, so she's not going to push anyone. They're going to have the relationship they have. And of course, if they offer an idea of expansion, then Roxy's going to offer. But she will not push, and nor would you. But you're not going to stop being who you are. And then either they're going to accept, much like Jennifer's parents have accepted Jennifer as is. They keep trying to get her to come back to Insaneville, but they won't. They will never get that from her because Jennifer is in too much love with herself. She is her own sovereign isness. And of course, like you and her and Roxy and most of you in the class, you are still discovering that sovereign being. And that sovereign being is done in a fashion of fucking experience. Let's not forget that. That's why you got in an argument. That's why you called her. That's why you understood, because you can feel this instead of being the Miss Cushy Cushy and doing it right. Maybe begging or borrowing or getting together. You just lived your world because you're a god. Welcome to it. It seems extreme to a lot of the light-hearted people out there in imagery. The light-hearted images of the spiritual world. To have care and consideration for others at the expense, and I do mean at the expense of your own will that is moment expressed, but you curdle it down to a moment of time and present it in a fashionable idea. Being a fashion, being an image. No images anymore. No room for images, young Jedis. No, no, no. Image becomes as what you have experienced before. What Roxy experienced in such an enthralling way today. When she was getting the mammogram, having an interaction with Linda, and having this conversation, it was nothing like she thought of. Because the world was now. She was alive in the moment, experiencing the tilting of the machine, the forward, the back, the sound, the breathing, the hold, the breaths, and the gown. She goes, go ahead over here and, take off your shirt and bra. And Roxy goes, oh, you're so sweet to think I would have a bra on. The conversation, where it went in the moment. It was beautiful. See, you guys are understanding that you're not going anywhere. There's no purpose. And like Jennifer's figuring out, you guys aren't really seeking anything, are you? Because the quality of life is already. It's just taking off the blinders, right? Shedding those things. And how do we shed? We shed through experience. We shed through experience. We have a soul memory complex. What does that offer us? Reflection. I bet you if you guys start to reflect on your past, you're going to find divisionary selves in those past everywhere, right? They're going to be riddled on timelines. Selves of separation, here, there, and everywhere. And you're going to dive into those moments of time using a 4D approach. You're using time, a moment of history. So let's say 5 years ago. You remember an event that happened about 5 years ago. So you go to that time and the space opens up, right? And the memory unfolds and you can feel that relationship with that time-space moment, right? That you just created. And I bet you, oh, I know it, I do, you're going to feel different. You know what's really good about those little jaunts in history? Don't worry about the future. We're going to get to that in a second. But just right now, save the history, okay? What is beautiful about those is that you can feel how you feel now about that, and it doesn't match the memory. You can see your change. You can see yourself evolving, the value of things. You can see the mind getting excited because you're feeling pain, but the pain isn't the quality of the pain it was in memory. Like the idea that we offered earlier. The moment doesn't offer pain. The moment never offers fear. The moment is absolute blissful. Only memory takes you to the feelings. The instant you feel this moment, the instant you feel it, it is not pain. It is truly immeasurable. The split second right after, you start to equate very fast. And then you feel how you feel about it according to how you validate feeling. Right now, most of you validate feeling with human emotions. Like Paul, Mr. Redhead's depressed. Good. You want to be depressed. You want to see what depression is, how it beats you up, how it makes you feel like shit, and how you can sit there. Because when you're feeling that, you're not feeling that. You're feeling the equation that the mind sends into the body as a truth. So your experience is giving you that emotion. But in the now, there is no pain. Because you are incapable of feeling pain. You are feeling unconditional. You just forgot it. Well, you really didn't forget it. What it is that it's covered up immediately by the mind. The filter of separation gives you the feeling that you validate, right? Have you guys ever looked for something and you go, man, I looked there 10 times. And where the hell did it go? And now it's there. I looked there. I swear to God, right? Well, you didn't see it because when you were looking there as an intention, the focus wasn't a vibrational match. So the keys that were there were not in your frequency to be noticed. And this is the same thing. You can't feel the unconditional. The only thing you can see is what you validate. Okay? That's why you only have particular emotions about particular situations. Let's take, for example, someone has the ability to laugh at a funeral. Most people are mourning, right? All broken up about her death. You know, we try to extend our lives and then they die and then we make ourselves feel better in this idea earth plane, right? Most people mourn the loss of a loved one, right? So how can one person understand it differently than another? See, that's their relationship with anything that is according to their truth. You must start seeing that within yourself, that it is always the bliss that occurs first, the unconditional. Then it happens, human, right away. So fast you can't see the differences between the now because the nows are just extraordinarily fast. So your experience starts to tell you because you have a little sentinel watching your observer self, right? And he's observing and he's watching. And see, when Roxy was talking to Shagupta was starting to run away. And Roxy puts the brakes, stop. Because her mind was like, one, no, and that's what you validate. As soon as you go one way, and then it just goes. Because it tells you exactly what is truth because you're paying attention to the feeling that you validate. Again, you don't want to catch the car when you're chasing it. All you want to do is chase. That emotion, ride, good, bad, and different, up, down, left, or right, doesn't matter. You just want to feel alive in whatever way is at your disposal in the moment. That's why you run away. That's why depression only goes deeper when you follow it. But Paul, you need to follow it because it has an ending. God, for God's sakes, remember your Seth, my friend. Follow all emotions to the end, and it always comes back to the original. Love. Not conditioned love, not I love you. The state of being, my master. Don't avoid it. Talk it out, express it, motherfuck it. But you got to feel it and be alive and get pissed and then just watch yourself getting pissed. One moment. And then get pissed again and get lost in that thought and that treachery. And look and really claim there's no fixing it because I'm not smart enough to fix it. And be that. Live it. Live it, Paul. Live it. Just like Shagufta was ranting to her mom. Taking everything she had and giving it to her because she hates it. Good. Oh, God, isn't that exquisite? Don't you guys see what you have? Not only do you have an enormous amount of cereal to eat, you have an enormous amount of emotions to feel. You're the only species that is truly that unlimited as a collective. Do you understand that? Because the Pleiadians are unlimited as themselves. But the psyche is Pleiadian. Humans are not a psyche of limited because each individual is not to the algorithm of the species. That's why you have red hair and blue hair. That's why you're fat, skinny, and indifferent. Okay, pleasantly plump, no fat. Skinny, mediocre, big, tall, white, and black, right? Red and purple. It's why you look and dress so differently, because you are unlimited as a collective, and it takes unlimited to be realized. And that's my masters. Stand by. Yes, it was funny. Stand by. So the guilt that Shagufta feels about yelling at her mom, arguing, and then she reverts to the justification, I'm allowed to have my life. I'm allowed to do this. I'm allowed. I'm allowed. I'm allowed. And she's afraid that she's allowed. Yes, good, good, good. Live it. Live it. And you'll know it. And you'll be divinity. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, you will. Yes. But get out of that motherfucking theory and don't rush it. Live the moment, because the moment will start speaking absolutely unconditional to you, because you're not so busy with time, histories, projections, readings upon meaning of the moment, dashing everything into the past or the future with meaning and cause and effect and purpose and what I'm supposed to do. There is no supposed to. There is only doing. So you're doing while you're pretending to supposed to do. That's what you're doing. And it's meaningless. See, Paul's depression is meaningless. See, it's not for a reason. It's a now, validated, one after the other after the other. That's it. All he is on a ride. When he chooses to get off the roller coaster of depression, maybe he'll go ride the merry-go-round of worthiness. I don't know. But he will continue to find his image through these experiences. And since he's here with me, he has a awareness of his image. All of you have observers now. They're you. like you had an image that was blind to the moment, until someone made you look differently at yourself, maybe with a conjecture of judgment. Maybe your teacher, you were all proud and excited, and then someone shit on your parade, and your teacher said, well, that's good, but this is what the assignment was supposed to be. Or you're supposed to do it like that. And then all of a sudden, you saw a part of yourself that didn't match. So you have an observer called guilt, failure, wrong. Don't you? You have all kinds of observers on the selves. Emotions, aren't they? But see, the observer we're looking at doesn't have emotions. He's divine. Divinity expressed. Nonchalance. Doesn't give a shit. Doesn't care what you're thinking about. Doesn't care how much you think you got it together. How much you're figuring the game. Doesn't care what you think, do, or want. It's you saying, look at the experience. When you're begging and pleading for meaning, purpose, image, the expression of the observer allows the expression of business with no taints, no tints, no slants, simply perfection. Oh, yes. It's quite exquisite if you really think about it. You really feel it. Is it anyone's fault you were taught to grow up? You have conversations with grown-ups. What's grown-up? How much you know in education? How much you can speak in authority on a certain subject? Taking responsibilities because you pumped out a couple of puppies and you gave them names, and so now you're grown up. You have domain over gods. You have to be grown up about it, and now you have to become responsible. If there was a child upon earth that was absolutely left alone, and each interaction was that of unconditional, you could not have a God more beautiful to themselves. Because see, no one's offering that they're shitty. You knew no shit. You felt empty. You had that emptiness to be fulfilled. That's appetitical. You wanted to find it. But when you went and seeked your reflection, your eyes, your connection, what you got was not cultivating. What you got was opposition. Objects opposed to you. Because. So that's the default. See, Paul, you're going to hurt. You're going to rip yourself up. You're going to be worthless because you can't do what you're supposed to do. And when you find yourself supposing what you should be doing, I would like you to find the manual and find the authority that is an actual enforcer of what you're supposed to do, Paul. I want you to find your master that enslaves you on what you should do. And if you find no such fellow, then maybe you can superimpose the master, the enslaver of you as you instead of another. Seeking outside authorities to solve your depression through good acts and kindness and responsibility and respect for others, and then depression would diminish because the focus of you is now being validated by comfort in numbers, and of course those are the eyes you need to feel alive. So you have paths ahead of you, my friend. You have a path of self-righteousness. You have a path of self-righteousness to others. Self-righteousness is the ego commanding itself, not giving a shit about others. Self-righteous to others to conform to society. Or, of course, you have worthiness. nothing that tempos itself in time. Worthiness is the moment. It is that unbelievable feeling of absolute bliss without measure that is acquired all nows, but most certainly unnoticed by the fractal mind, because it seeks itself as righteousness. Okay? So the more you're worthy to yourself and accept that your action is immeasurable to your own enslavement, then the enslavement becomes a mockery to the observer. But to the conscious mind of fear, you, Paul, the depressing addict, says, well, this enslaver is scaring me with his tidbits of future consequences, and the actions of others around seem to be validating this mythical creature that lives in my mind. I am afraid to move forward because of the treacheries that are cast upon me through the mind of these fears offered. But I know if you notice something, Paul, you've been depressed for a while. God damn it, there it is again. I'm existing. We know it's not enough to exist. Humans don't validate existence. They validate reasons of existence. That's the everlasting seeker inside of you. Always antsy, always uncomfortable, always going to the next, because it knows itself in sequence of validated ideas of the standard collective in the now. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, it always shifts. Each little time frame has its own set of validated goodness that you try to seek. And even those who accomplish don't, because they can't be empty until they are full. And they can't be full because they are empty. See it? Okay. So what you can do for yourself is accept everything, Paul. So you have to accept your guilt. Everybody accept the treacheries about themselves. Get lowly with me. Because lowly is only a state of being predicated off of a system that you were birthed into. Outside of measurement, there is no lowly or highly. Everyone's trying to raise my vibration. I need to raise my vibration to what? More than God? To more than what you already are? Well, two things. You can never intentionally go past you because you're all that is. And all that is already more. So what the hell are you fighting for? You don't believe it. You don't see it. You don't feel it yet. I got it. Okay. Well, we can give you reasons, can't we? We can tell you you're awesome. I can bring the Christ conscience in here to melt your heart with your awesomeness. Give you the words and the conjectures that put such passion inside of humanity. But see, once that passes in time, and it's not accepted as a truth, but it's convinced. In other words, the algorithm becomes empty because it's not accepted as a wholeness. Not anyone's fault because it's filtered. It's not that you want or want not. It's just a part of the algorithm. Then you're going to be empty in a few days. You don't want to go to church, do you? Pump yourself up for the next week and go back and do whatever you do to make yourself feel better and then repeat the cycle. It's the same thing. You want to get down to the nitty-gritty. You want to start living and expressing and being. We've said it over and over again. The reason we brought our idea last night in as a potential cantor, right? Why? So we can explore with you. So you guys can experience other than. To see the quality of the now has nothing to do with learning, remembering. Well, through all the processes, we brought you to a point so you are just simply now. And where you go is immeasurable, because where you are is immeasurable. Once you are, then you will never go anywhere, because you're everywhere already. You're being. I know you're not everywhere feeling everything, but you are. You are everything. You have no concerns to be anything than what you are now. And what you are now is all that is. So the work is exceptional, right? You guys feel a difference in you. You notice that there's not a lot that take pleasantries in these classes, because we're not pleasant, but we're also not atrocious. We're offers of what lies within you to explore. And then for some reason, sometimes you think that we want you to do that. We don't want you to do anything. Because no matter how you get there, exploration of the treacheries inside of you or the goods inside of you that are hopeful and needy, the only idea is truly is just to be now. Because everything else takes care of itself. The more you become now, everything else just seems to play out. Shagufta, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you have the key?
I turned it back in.
Did you get the one from Mother?
No, I didn't.
Did you pay the fee?
Yes.
So are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. See how simple that is? Because that's not a meaning, that's not a truth, it's not a consequence, it's an experience of your truth. To pay the fucking fee and move on. What, you're going to run out of money all of a sudden?
No.
Oh. Does it irk you? Yes, if you have an ego. Sure. Then you expose your ego. Fuck, I had to pay money for a key. Ugh. Oh, money is a bad thing to have? To turn it over? I mean, it provides a means to access, and you access to a fucking freedom. But see, maybe part of you doesn't want that freedom at the expense of exchange. Because she should have. A lot of people should, shouldn't they? But then you don't want to be a tyrant, do you?
No.
You want to accept people to be whatever the hell they're going to be, and you follow your dreams in the now. What you have available now. We say follow your dreams because you're dreaming this. In the now.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
All right then. Good. It's really easy to be free of pain. Like the quality of the experience that Roxy imagined how the mammogram girl was nothing like that. The pain is leaving her. But she needed to understand the pain as her, like you do, like getting that anger out, like Paul's depression. Because Paul can't be something because he doesn't know what to be. Because whatever is in his mind, he's got 5 little things of what I think I can be. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can earn this much money, maybe this. I need an education. This. All these things that humanity tells him would be good, he fucking hates. But in the meantime, there's nothing there to be. Exactly. So since you're not being something in imagery, you get a little bit depressed because you have no image to uphold. Failure comes in because you're not being that connection. Always after that idea ghost, chasing after that satisfactory feeling that is never quenching. But Paul's going to notice maybe a couple days later, well, fuck, I'm still depressed, but god damn it, I'm still here. Do, 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 do. Still fucking existing. Do, 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 do. Damn it. Whatever it is, this is the journey. This is the moment. Are you being alive to yourself? Are you being your truth? Do you have the guts to be honest in the moment to yourself Can you stop running around with your head cut off trying to please humanity and be an image? I don't know. Not my job. Nobody's job. Not even yours. The only thing we want you to see is what you have available to you. We give you the tools to see that. The observer is a really good fucking tool. Get to know that self that watches the self running around going, and you'll see that more and more. We talk about emotions tonight because there's emotions in the class. You are bubbling up and surfacing it at such a rapid rate now. But you can see that the nows are changing. The quality is becoming different. Some of you may even call them lackluster. Good. When you know that your nows are becoming more and more empty, then you know you're shedding the seekings, and the quality of life will soon bubble in because you're not decorating it with the same shit from the past, placing your imagery upon things through translatable filters, because the filters aren't accessible. Because why? Because you're diminishing them. You're doing the work. Okay, good. Hang on. Hmm. Katie, where'd you get the spearmint tea from? Roxy is asking.
Mom grows it in her garden.
Okay, next batch of pumpkin bread, send some.
Sure will.
Thank you.
She's already getting another package together for you.
Okay, we'll add some tea in there because Roxy's blowing through it. She likes it. I
think
like it.
she put, like lemon thyme in there too, but she can not add it this next time. I don't know. If you like it like it is, we'll do it again.
Yes, don't question what it is. Accept it, because as it is, it's exceptional, right?
Right?
All right. Very good. So we have another weekend ahead of us, and we always leave you with some ideas about how you're living. But we're becoming friends again, right? More and more so. The teachers are going to soon disappear. The classes remain. There will be some interactions of teachings, but you will see the frequencies changing soon. See the interaction with the idea of the Aquatican last night. The Aquatican wanted you to experience something that he wanted in himself. We explain that with time measurement, but it's not time. You don't have the fathomable understanding how to want something in the immediate now with no intention, because it's called automatic. It's attraction. That is, perfect. So that experience with everyone is individual to know yourself. You guys are, can you become teachers to other species? Can you do that for yourself? Not in the idea. Listen, not in obligation. You've got to remember this. Remember this with me today. Remember that we're going to use the translation words of human interaction so we can have a conversation. But you must feel the reasons, the meanings, the relationship behind them. They're not limited. They're a way to experience each other, okay? So when I say you would want to do that, it's not because of obligation. I'm asking that question as an individual singularity, taking that question personally and knowing the answer. Because you can teach a lot. Because you have students everywhere. You live in an evolutionary universe, don't you? You live in a Kashika. right? Doesn't mean you have to go away from Akashica. You can spend the next millennium here experiencing just one species and being an offer of interaction. Because there's no one way to be. There is always the unknown to be. And you are unknown to billions. So when someone connects to you, you're not showing them a lesson. You're being a teacher of experience for them to understand you through their translation. See, that's why you can't take things personally anymore. Because the asleep that are around you are being taught, right? In a way, do you see that? See, you're being something and they're seeing something within themselves. You can offer that as a teaching, okay? But not in an obligation, a lesson. Oh, I learned my lesson today. There's a lesson in that, isn't there? Now, what lesson did we learn from that class? Oh, that fucking lesson of ego. We're not talking about that fucking horseshit. We're talking about the experience of offering an unconditional vibration so someone else comes along and embraces you. Cantor was full of himself when he left because he got human because of the masters that allowed him to be taught. You get it? Break down this fucking ego. Break down cause and effect. Don't validate what it was. Feel the truth of interactions, words. Now, approach it from not clinical and cynical, but open and ever expanding. Okay? Be masters with me. We want to bring interactions because they're fucking interested in you. And you will be surprised how you can be that in yourself. Start to channel the wisdom of time, Malatar, Sylvester. Bring that to the palate of a psyche, a distant civilization, only 300,000 years old, just getting their feet wet in an evolutionary universe to understand themselves, giving this bright light of a forgotten God. What an honor for them, right? But not honored as inhuman. Oh, thank you. Come on, feel this with me. So when these classes return, we're going to have speakers. But these speakers will be students of the masters I say before me. So this weekend, be a master. Be a teacher unto yourself. Paul, break it down. Rip yourself up. Shit it all over the place. Scream, holler, and motherfuck. Shagufta, allow your mother to be that lost god. Let her bounce, scream, and beat you. Let her scream and holler at you. And you let it come and bring it in and let her collapse in your arms. Because her own hate and her own rage is that of hers, taught by the previous generation. The default being exposed so she may free her own enslavement because of the garden you've provided. Don't look at her as a mother to get approval. You are not a child, and you were never in need of love. But now you realize that, and now it's time to be the love for the self. Truly. It's a good class. It's fucking good. If you guys need it, let us know. We're right here. Okay? Collective of Intelligence. We're right here. We'll see you back on Monday. If you need anything with Roxy, say hello to her. She'll be around. I bet you.